What is going on, everybody? And on here, and Final Fantasy is here. We are through pre-release weekend, and this is going crazy. Um, heard this morning from Distro. I'm sure many of you saw the uh, press release / note from MVP. I got a call directly from distribution. They were told this morning that from WotC to not expect a reprint of Playboxes for 3 or 4 months. I've been saying multiple times they would probably try to push out a shipment by the end of January or end of June, the end of the quarter, because that's pretty much what they always do. I'm not sure that I buy 3 to 4 months. It could very well just be they're trying to set expectations to get the play boxes through the roof. Let's go to play boxes and we could look at these. Because quite honestly, these things are going to $250 if not higher. There's just nothing out there. Everything's pre-sold. Everything's gone. And if there's nothing coming from distro, guess who the only game in town is who has boxes? Well, it's going to be WotC, and they can sell them for $200 through Amazon. So that may be the game. That may not be the game. I can't imagine it's going to take them 3 months. But again, I could be wrong. So what I do want to look at is now that there have been a lot of products ripped, the race to zero has begun. Let's talk about the expected value. So first of all, go back to play boxes. And I'm getting a lot of this information in real time, which is super interesting. Interesting. So the Playbox expected value. This is as of today. So it is about 10 p.m. Eastern time on the 9th of June. So we are effectively Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 4 full days through the pre-release process. Everybody and their brother who has a massive amount of product has ripped it. They're listing it. All the big stores are. Now TCG Player is not unlocked to normal sellers. It is only open to pre-sale eligible stores. So we'll see what the race to zero looks like come Friday, I believe. Everything on Thursday or Friday this week when everything unlocks. I don't think anything's going to move. There might be a few idiotic stores who are like, oh, $200. I'm going to list it at $160 and they'll be gone in 3 seconds. In fact, I think I mentioned in my video last night, there is one distributor who has product who's offering it, and that's it. As far as I've seen. Now, there may be some drips and drabs as people don't take their product, but that remains to be seen. So let's look at the biggest one. And this is the biggest seller. We're going to talk about collectors, but I'll talk about the Commander decks because there have been a buttload of these sold. They're one of the higher selling products here. Now, they've come down a little bit, but the expected value on the entire display is still sitting right around $500, which is pretty remarkable. Now, it was $2,000 2 weeks ago, and obviously the listings were limited. But there are 3 or 4 stores that just came in and they were just slashing prices like crazy. But still, I mean, at the expected value of $500, there's not a whole lot of downside left on these because ultimately you can buy them, you can break them for singles. And yeah, even if you sell for $500 and you're on direct, you're paying $150 of tax or $150 worth of fees. You're still sitting at $350. So this is kind of right around the break even. If you're going to do that, I mean, quite honestly, with the pre-con decks, you don't even need to use direct. If you want to spend a little bit of extra man hours, it saves you 17%, 16%, which matters depending on how you want to handle this. But either way, I think the downside here is limited. Quite honestly, this might be the last product standing. One play boxes all but sell out. So it's going to be interesting. So let's go to some of the alternatives. The bundles here, not great value. So 9 packs. So just figure about a third of a play box. So your play boxes are about $65 equivalent. For 9 packs, these are at $94. Yeah, you're going to get the stamp card and things like that. Not the best value in the world, and you get the lands and all that stuff. But none of this stuff is cheap. Going to the collector commanders, this one's going to be interesting because there are a lot of people that scalped Amazon. They paid $600 for these. When these unlock, and every degenerate in the world can dump these. It'll be interesting to see how low these go. Now, I mentioned this last night in my video, in my distribution update. I did take a look at this. The other collector edition decks, the Warhammer ones, are at an all-time high at $1,000 per. They were at $500. I believe at release, if I recall correctly, $449, something like that. The Modern Horizon 3 decks are just kind of dead money. They're sitting around $500. But again, they came out and then they banned all the good cards. And Modern Horizons 3, in my view, was a little bit of a disaster of a set. It could have been much better, but the execution was just extremely poor on Wizards' part. But these are $2,000 decks all day long, probably within 6 months, in my view. I believe all the cards are Surge Foil inside, so if you want to get blingy, they are they're pretty crazy. Let's see. Yep, 100 cards in Surge Foil treatment, which, it's the only place you're going to get them is right here. And then 2-card collector booster packs. There's some decent value in those as well. Now, what I don't know is if they're any different than the collector packs in the regular Commander decks. By the way, the $500 EV of the Commander decks does not include the collector packs, the sample packs. Not collector packs, the sample packs. So there's probably another $30 or $40 of value in there. So either way, there's not a whole lot of downside left on those, I don't think, until people just start scooping them. Collector boxes. These things are absolutely insane. I've seen a ton of Chocobos, 3 or 4 serialized cards. I'm sure there are more. But that just means a lot of these have been ripped already. And they're being ripped for singles. They're being ripped by big stores. They're being ripped in mass. But what's not happening yet, and we haven't seen it here, is all of the Amazon orders that people paid $450 for, $454, whatever the target number. We'll just call it the target number. I guess it's MSRP because they did use that term. They're all going to come on the market and they're going to dump on here. And you're going to see the same thing that you saw with Prismatic Evolutions, where the lowest 14 listings are people with no feedback and no sales. But if you want to buy these, that is the time to buy them. I've been saying this all along. These are going to be $1,000 by the 4th of July. At this rate, they might be $2,000 by the 4th of July. We'll see. People just love them. I watched a guy rip a couple packs today at the store, and I mean, the cards are beautiful. I have no interest in the cards themselves. Love Final Fantasy, love Magic, but it's like there's no way I'm dropping $75 on a pack to open those. I love the lottery and the Double Masters, the original VIP, because it was pretty easy to hit. But the EV, I guess the EV in the collector boxes is still sitting at $750. But I think that also factors in the pro rata portion of the Chocobo at some fictitious made up allocation. So it's probably closer to $500, which quite honestly isn't bad at all. So we'll see. Moving on to the last item here, the gift bundles. So these have been pushed out to the end of the month. 9 play boosters, as I mentioned, has about $60, $65 of value. And then 1 collector pack, which is, for all intents and purposes, just call it $100. So you have $160 worth of value. And these are selling at $223. Now, there aren't a whole lot of sellers here because they're still a couple weeks away. And a lot of folks don't list things quite as early. But this is a little bit of a cheaper way. To, I guess not cheaper way. It's a different way to get your collector pack. But again, a lot of these were scalped on Amazon. When these come out, it'll be another opportunity to buy them because they're going to get dumped on the market. Now, these could be selling at $300 if the collector boxes are at $1,500 by the time they come out. But we'll see. But again, the most important thing is the play boxes. I would not buy play boxes at $200. In fact, I've said multiple times to our subs, I said, look, if we get more, we're going to sell them at $140 per. We're going to sell them by the case, and that's that. And if we don't get that many, that's fine. I mean, I have no need to make money off these products. It's really for our community. I think we sold through 800 plus play boxes that we've gotten from distro. I have no idea what it looks like going forward. I mean, I'm guessing they're just going to print, and these things are gonna get hammered. But they're not going to get hammered anytime soon. And like I said, I'm not sure I believe the fact that it's going to take them 3 to 4 months to print these. If it does, they're way more incompetent than I thought. They should be coming to market with these the end of June. Short print, Edge of Eternities, because nobody's going to give a shit other than me. Focus on Spider-Man. I mean, if these things are $200 plus going into Spider-Man, the Spider-Man play boxes are going to be 175 plus. They're just going to, because that's where the market memory is going to be. It's a crazy time to be in Magic. If I was collecting these long term, I would certainly not sit on play boxes. I would probably not sit on Commander decks. Commander decks are great to play. They're great to cycle through singles. They are going to get reprinted. Now, again, if they can't reprint the play boxes for 3 to 4 months, one can only imagine how long it's going to take them to reprint the Commander decks. Yeah, could be 6 months, could be 6 weeks. Who knows? With these guys. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. This is going to be super, super interesting to see how this plays out. Again, I wouldn't hold these. If you want to buy them and open them and have fun, that's great. I would stick to the collector commanders and the collector boxes, because I think they're going to hold a ton of value long term, unlike anything we've ever seen. So anyway, guys, we're going to talk about a bunch about Magic this week. If you haven't noticed, there are some reserve list cards hitting all-time highs. I'm going to do a video on that at some point this week, which is super fascinating, because most cards you see the spike into COVID and then just the slow bleed down. But there are a decent amount of high-quality cards that are at all-time highs now, and they're not dead yet. And I think with vintage Pokemon kicking up and starting to heat up a little bit, the vintage Magic market looks like it's starting to come back to life. I don't think anybody's mentioned anything about that. I know people have mentioned that the dual lands have, and the dual lands are always lukewarm, but there's some other cards. So anyway, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. We are offering Edge of Eternities play cases for $5.99. That is effectively break even for me, but we're doing it as a courtesy to our subs. So they get the play boxes at the cheapest possible price. So anyway, guys, have a good night. Enjoy Final Fantasy.